so important to understand that when I first actually started understanding food, didn't have the education I do now. I was just going off of, I had a friend who was a registered dietitian, and I had just been like researching like what macros might be.
Right.
And I was like, oh, in order to see the results that I'm looking for, because I was slowly losing the weight that I had gained from football, but I wasn't actually like improving my body composition the way that I had expected, right? So then I reach out to this registered dietitian. I said, hey, I've been learning about these macros. Like, this is my lifestyle. This is how much I weigh right now. This is my height. Like, could you help me out? She's like, yeah, I need to know much more about you. And back then, like, I didn't understand what that actually meant, right? But she said, but here's about a range. She gave me 3,000 total calories and the macros of 300 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, 100 grams of fat. Okay. And I basically, I have a bit of a addictive personality when it comes to certain things. I'll get very compulsive. When like you tell me this is the line I need to walk, I will walk it. And I hit my numbers to a T. Never tracked ever in my entire life, but I found a food scale. I figured out how to do it, and I was just like on the money. I hit those numbers every single day. And in the moment, the only focus I had was improved body composition because I was getting ready for my wedding. I wanted to look the best I ever could. So I shed 30, 40 pounds in 7 months. I hit those macros to a T. And if I would drop a grain of rice off of my plate, I would go reweigh it. It was very compulsive, like not something I ever want for people, but this is just me figuring it out because I think this is what has to happen in order for me to see results. So I got down from about 245 to like 215, 8% body fat. And I had cut, I just kept cutting. Like when I wasn't seeing results fast enough, I just kept cutting calories, and it was carbs because in my head, carbs is what makes you fat.
Carbs are bad.
Oh my
Fat is bad.
It's just
you live an unhealthy lifestyle,
exactly.
my guy.
Yeah, it drives me nuts, man.
Oh
But yeah, I got down to it, and for the wedding, I looked great. But then I showed up to my wedding day, and I was like, I can't enjoy any of this food. If I veer off from my macros, I'm gonna blow up again. I'm gonna go right back to that weight I was, you know. And then I go on my honeymoon, and my wife, she wanted a chocolate croissant for breakfast, and I was like, that sounds amazing.
Can I smell your breath?
Yeah. Like I'm just like scratching the table and like just like
a crackhead.
Yeah, like I don't know if I could eat this. So I was terrified, you know. And as I was coming back from, because we went to Telluride, and we were driving back. That's a long drive, like 7 hours. Mm-hmm. I was just sitting in the car because she was asleep, and I was just thinking like that is not anything I would ever want anyone to go through in order to feel comfortable in their skin. Because I looked great. But now I was terrified of losing it.
Right.
It's like I've just built another box that I wanted to live in, right? So I was like, okay, how do I take what I learned from macros and how can I continue to apply it in a way that fits my lifestyle? And I haven't tracked a calorie since then because of how compulsive I was and how detrimental it was. But I took the philosophies, what I did learn was the portion sizes, how much protein is going to be in this meal, how many carbs are going to be in this meal, because I was so compulsive. And now I was just like, okay, I stay right around 208, 215, you know, I feel comfortable, I maintain a good body composition, and I don't track calories because of what I learned. I was like, this is what's going to fit my lifestyle now.
Right.
And I take what I learned about calories and I just help people understand, like, it's not this end all be all. Like, you tracked for a year, right? Like, if someone hears that and they think that's what has to happen in order to see results,
for sure,
horrified.
Yeah,
right.
Some people are really good with the stat. They like that shit. They have to.
Oh,
They have to have it by the T, by the dollar. They have to track everything. And some of them, if you tell them, we had clients before. You're like, yeah, I just want to see 7 days of tracking.
Yeah,
just because some people don't know what food looks like on paper. They don't know they don't know, like, holy shit, I'm eating 4,000 calories and I'm wondering why I can't lose the weight. And then vice versa, I'm eating 2,000 calories and I can't gain the muscle.
Yep.
So a lot of people kind of get starstruck with that kind of shit. I don't know how you did it for a year. That would just.
I know that, like, when I did it, I was building into it. Like, I don't do any food tracking anymore now.
What did you do it for a year because you were scared of?
No, more of it was, and like, I know it can easily think about tracking for a year. Maybe that's a bad kind of mindset. You're like, oh, I got to hit everything. I got to track this. I got to track that. For me, it was like, I'm making this transition. I'm going to go balls to the wall to make sure that I'm actually dedicated to this. Because I know sometimes you're like, I want to make this change, and then you do a little bit, and you're like, maybe not, and you just kind of tailor off.
Right.
I was like, I paid for this. I'm with this guy. We're in it. I'm doing it. Whatever he says. So he said it. I hit it. I just did it.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I don't do any food tracking anymore, but I'm glad I did that year because it did help me build such a huge awareness around what I was eating and how I was eating.
Well, food tracking
Yep.
isn't an issue. Like, I don't tell people not to track their food.
Right.
But if the people are like, they feel like that's the only way, or that's the way that's going to scare the
Definitely
crap out
not
of
the
them.
only way, but yeah.
If you have a lot of people who are in like in sports athletes, they track a lot of their food. Like, you got to think fighters, you have to manage your weight.
Yeah.
And I think it's very smart to know what food looks like. So tracking your food isn't bad, but being obsessed over anything. Like, if you create a budget for financing and you're obsessed with that, you lose the factor of life around it.
Yeah.
You lose the fun. And if it's no longer fun, your higher chances of quitting is going to be drastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing when it comes to just helping people understand what their life looks like after they're at a certain goal, right? If they are practicing something that they don't plan on doing, or they don't have an exit strategy, like, the results, they don't last.
Right.
No matter what, be it health and fitness, be it finance, whatever it is. If you dread it, you can operate off of hate for a pretty long time. But if we're drawing this out for a lifetime, like, if you had to agree to track for the rest of your life, like,
At the level I was, no.
No, right? So why would we practice that kind of behavior, that kind of relationship with it? And it's getting people, and you said it, like, the most important thing someone needs in order to make massive change in their life is awareness.
Yeah. They have to find out what the problem is.
Exactly. They have to find the actual problem, right? Because when you're aware, then you can start understanding it. And you can actually get to the root of it. And then when you understand it, you can build belief that you can actually change.
Yeah.
And then when you have the belief, you build momentum. And you start seeing the fact that you don't have to be miserable in order to see things, because you're starting to understand it in the language that you need to, right? With nutrition, if you think you have to go vegan, if you have to count your calories, if you have to do, we are inherently, like, stubborn beings as humans. And if we have to do anything, we're going to rebel.
We're going to
fight against it, right? But then we need to move away from that. I have to do this, or you have to do this, and find, what do you get to do? What allows you to feel like yourself again?
Yeah.
And when you find that line, it gets so much easier.